history of Islam in the Americas and the Caribbean spans several centuries and is influenced by diverse factors such as trade, migration, slavery, and contemporary immigration. There is evidence suggesting that Muslim explorers from West Africa may have reached the Americas prior to European colonization. Some historians argue that Muslims may have been among the indigenous peoples encountered by early European explorers, although concrete evidence is sparse. During the transatlantic slave trade from the 16th to 19th centuries, millions of Africans, including Muslims from West and Central Africa, were forcibly brought to the Americas and the Caribbean. Many enslaved Muslims maintained their religious practices despite attempts by slaveholders to convert them to Christianity. In the early 20th century, Muslim immigrants from the Middle East and South Asia began arriving in the U.S., contributing to the diversity of the Muslim community. Islam is also growing fast within the prison system, as those convicted have time to reflect on life and also gain protection from fellow brothers from gangs operating within the prisons.
In Brazil, which received the largest number of African slaves in the Americas, there were significant numbers of Muslim slaves. They practiced Islam clandestinely and were known as the Malay or Muslim slaves. The Malay Revolt of 1835 in Bahia, Brazil, was led by Muslim slaves influenced by Islamic teachings. According to statistics, the number of Muslims in Latin America is over 4 million. There are around 700,000 in Argentina, more than 1.5 million in Brazil, and thousands of others scattered around the Americas. Arab immigrants, primarily from Lebanon, Syria, and Palestine, arrived in countries like Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia seeking economic opportunities. Many of these immigrants were Muslim and they brought their faith with them, establishing mosques, cultural centers, and communities. Suriname has the highest percentage of Muslims in its population for the region, with 13.9% or 75,053 individuals, according to its 2012 census. Islam came to Suriname with immigrants from Indonesia, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Did you know that the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, is half Palestinian? He is famous for taking El Salvador from the most dangerous place on earth to one of the safest countries by arresting over 70,000 members from the satanic gang MS-13. His father, Armando Bukele Catan, was born in El Salvador, but his parents were Christian Palestinian from Bethlehem. Armando Bukele Catan converted to Islam from Christianity in the 1980s and became an imam. He opened the first mosque in El Salvador, opening 4 mosques in total in the country. His son unfortunately doesn't claim to be Muslim. He said he believes in God and Jesus after growing up in a mixed religious household with his father a Muslim and mother a Christian. Latin America has had many leaders with Arab origins, countries such as Ecuador, Brazil, Colombia, Honduras, and Paraguay. There are also many Latin celebrities with Arab origins.
Muslims were also present in various Caribbean islands, particularly those colonized by European powers involved in the transatlantic slave trade. In places like Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, and Guyana, there were Muslim slaves who maintained their religious identity through oral traditions and resistance to conversion. In the 20th century, Muslim immigration to the Americas and the Caribbean increased significantly. This included immigrants from the Middle East, South Asia, and Africa, as well as converts to Islam from local populations. These immigrants and converts have established mosques, cultural centers, and educational institutions, contributing to the diversity of the Muslim community in the region. Islam's influence can be seen in the cultural heritage of some Caribbean nations. This influence is reflected in cuisine, language, and folklore. Today, the Muslim population in the Americas and the Caribbean is diverse. Muslims contribute to the social, economic, and cultural life of their respective countries, often forming vibrant communities that celebrate their religious and cultural heritage. In summary, Islam's history in the Americas and the Caribbean is rich and multifaceted. It highlights the resilience of Muslim communities and their contributions to the broader tapestry of the region's history.